Michael Cohen, you know, the whole news thing yesterday or the day before yesterday was that was all just nonstop hysteria. Michael Cohen stole $20,000 from Donald Trump. Well, it turns out Michael Cohen is supposed to deliver a bag with $50,000 cash in it to Redfinch for work they did. What was that work and why was it paid in cash? Well, it was paid in cash because they didn't want anybody to know they'd done it. The work was for Redfinch to game an online poll showing that Donald Trump was more popular than he was. That he was one of history's most notable business leaders. How many of these online polls, or how many of these polls in general, is Donald Trump paying? I mean, this is just like when he showed up, when he came down the escalator and he had this little crowd who applauded him. Yeah, we hate those migrants too. They were being paid $50 an hour to stand there. They were actors. Trump just makes things look real. And I mean, this is what he learned, from NBC doing Celebrity Apprentice or doing The Apprentice. Make it look like it's real, and there's enough people who will believe that it's real that you can get elected president. What's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. Great minds think alike. I've been livid for the last day or so over this Cohen hush money, which is basically what he took, for the to rig the polls. And the mainstream is not reporting it at all.
Right.
And I just find that amazing. And I've done some research, but I guess I want to make this one point, that all the polling done is not to inform us, it's to influence us. It's a way to change the way we're thinking. People pay for the polls to be done, and they want to get a certain outcome. And a good reason we can see that is that all campaigns do their own internal polling, and they don't release it. And they do that to find out the actual true numbers so they know where they stand in the race. And they never release that for a variety of reasons. And that should be evidence enough that the polls that we do see are probably not accurate.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, in this case, in the Redfinch case, this was an online poll. And so what they were paying Redfinch to do was to set up, a couple thousand bots, each one having a different IP address, to ping the poll. You can't do that with, Ipsos polls or New York Times polls and things like that. So I don't think that you can say this, therefore that, quite so glibly. But if that's a word, but I do agree that I think that the reason that we can't take seriously the current polls is that when you ask Americans, for example, who's responsible for the infrastructure bill that is now pouring money into American roads and highways and things like that, almost 40% of Americans say it was Donald Trump. People are just so uninformed, and that is a crisis in our media. I mean, that's an indictment of our media, that they are not. But then okay, go ahead. But then they use the polls to reinforce that, is what I'm saying. No, I get that. I don't think that. Well, yeah, I don't disagree with you, but I think that what the polls are doing is they're showing us the incompetence of the media itself. I mean, when the New York Times publishes a poll saying that Donald Trump is ahead of Joe Biden, you have to ask yourself, why? And the reason why, obviously, is that people are getting, bad information or basically no information. Our national media, I mean, you can see this any day of the week. Basically, they pick 4 or 5 stories every day that they consider to be the top stories. The more salacious, the better. And if they have the word Donald Trump in them, they, at least one of them has to have the word Donald Trump, because that will always draw eyeballs. And I can tell you, Ziggy, from, publishing my own newsletter, the Hartmann Report, when I put Donald Trump in a headline, I actually get more readership. Now, that is not causing me to put Donald Trump in my headlines all the time. In fact, very rarely do I put Donald Trump in my headlines. But I can tell you from personal experience that it's a real thing. People, I've used the metaphor before. You're having a garden party, an outdoor luncheon, and a poisonous snake comes slithering out of the grass, and try to just pay attention to the corn on the cob in front of you. Everybody's going to be looking at that snake. Well, that's the story with Donald Trump. I mean, here's this poisonous snake who is threatening to destroy this country and flip us into a fascist state, and people can't take their eyes away. And that's why, Trump headlines and Trump stories do so well, and that's why the media is all Trump all the time. And that's why Americans, or one part of why Americans, have no idea about the accomplishments of Joe Biden, which is really, really hurting. And he's going to have to overcome that with a massive advertising effort, which will probably start in 2 or 3 months, after Labor Day, when the fall campaign is really kicked off. Although I think that they're already underway doing this. But
yes, I agree with what you're saying.
How is your story doing? Your store doing? Excuse me.
The store is doing good at nbribes.com. You can find, I got 2 different stores there, and I'm putting up new stuff all the time. And whenever I hear anything on the Thom Hartmann program, I try to get it up there as quickly as I can. And so we're doing pretty good.
Great.
Okay. I'm happy. I'm trying to make an impact so that way we win this year.
There you go.
Coming up.
That's marvelous.
That's all it's about.
Right.
Winning.
So if you want bumper stickers or mugs or T-shirts or whatever, check out nbribes.com. All righty, Ziggy, thank you.
If you got an idea or suggestion, just send it to me. Okay?
You got it.
Tom, I appreciate that. Thanks for the plug.
You're welcome.
All right.